I'm Yvonne from Growing Old Disgracefully.
I'm Marie from Midlife Dramas in Pyjamas. You can find us both on Facebook.
And now we've come together to bring you inspirational stories from midlife and beyond in our podcast,
Hear Me Roar!
Hello!
Hello!
Hi!
You know it's us because we always start with a giggle, don't we?
I know. And a hello!
Hello!
So what have we been up to this week? I've had a rotten time of it.
You have had a horrible time on old F-Book, yes.
Okay, so I put a joke on my Facebook page about sunbathing topless, going in topless to ask my husband why he was being a bit fuddy-duddy about it, and popped my boobs on the breakfast bar and said,
As you do.
"What's the matter?" And the joke was, and he could not look me in the eyes, right? Okay, so I don't think that's it's a little bit kind of naughty, a bit rude, but it's not.
No, only a teeny tiny bit round the edges. Not,
Yeah. But it certainly did not warrant,
the torrent.
the absolute torrent of men coming on asking for pictures of my boobs. I sent you.
Yes. I couldn't believe.
Screenshots of the comments. That was just a few of them.
No, I couldn't believe what I was reading from those comments.
And some of them were seriously creepy. Like, I'll rub cream into them for you and things like that.
Yeah. Seriously sick-makingly creepy.
And one guy who works in a special educational needs school with vulnerable kids, he sent me a message asking for pics. And someone else sent me a message asking if I was available for some fun with him and his wife or his girlfriend or something. And to be honest, I'm surprised he's got a girlfriend.
Well, so am I if he's prepared to say things like that. I mean, I was shocked. I was shocked when you said it, and I was shocked when I read some of the comments.
Yeah.
What is wrong with people? It was a joke.
Yeah.
It was, it's just, I don't know. That just defies logic, really.
And then when I challenged it in another post, people got offended. Mostly men, one woman, mostly men, and I didn't say I was offended. I just said I was really surprised at the attitude. And I said, I'm not offended as such, just surprised that there are still these idiots around, that Mother Nature hasn't locked the todgers off yet. And
I might volunteer for that job.
Exactly. And you think after everything that the world's seen the last few years with Harvey Weinstein, the awful thing that happened with Sarah Everard, all those things that have happened, BBC TV, people disgracing themselves, all that, you'd think that people would get the message that, just even if you think it,
don't say it. Don't say it. And certainly don't write it.
Try not to think it.
But absolutely.
But if you must.
Prevent yourself from writing it.
Control yourselves.
Indeed.
So, Anyway, so we're talking to Gill today, Gillian Castle. Now, she's a middle-aged mum of a teenage boy who has a permanent stoma after a horrific childbirth. And following that, she had severe mental health issues, including PTSD. And she was medically retired from a job as a police officer, which she loved her job. So that's really, really sad. She had to go through a heck of a lot. She probably felt like she lost everything. Yeah. So during her recovery, she established an international charity dedicated to supporting women in the UK and Kenya to adapt to life after childbirth trauma or stoma surgery. And in 2023, Gill became the first person to successfully swim the English Channel solo with a stoma, and this was recognised by the Guinness World Records. So that
Absolutely
was a fantastic achievement. Well done, Gill. And we'll go and meet her now. Gill, it's lovely to meet you. So you're a mum, a former police officer. Wow.
Yeah.
And you've done something absolutely fabulous and amazing, which you're going to tell us about today.
Yes, I was the first person ever to swim the English Channel solo with a stoma. So I've had my stoma. I've actually got a colostomy, which means a stoma has been taken out of the large bowel. But I'll backtrack a little bit to explain how I got my stoma, and then I'll explain exactly what a stoma is. So I've had my stoma since 2011, October the 20th, when I gave birth to my first and only child, Sam. He got stuck during the delivery because he was 6 weeks early, so he was really small and he got really tired, so he couldn't help himself out. Because he got stuck, they had to use forceps to bring him out. And when they did that, they really badly damaged me. But unfortunately, they missed all of the injuries for nearly a week. And eventually, after a week, when I was found collapsed in the corridor by a male midwife, I wasn't actually able to speak very much at that point because I was completely incontinent both ways. I was in so much pain, I couldn't really communicate properly. And when I said to him, I can't do this anymore because of the pain, he said, well, maybe it's your perception of the pain. Obviously, it means it's in your head. So after that, I was examined under gas and air, and then they discovered the extent of my injuries, which was, they're pretty graphic. But hey ho, that's what we're here for. So I had a missed 4th degree tear. So we have different categories of perineal tear when you have a baby. The most significant is the 4th degree tear, which means I was torn all the way through the rectum, the vagina, the internal and the external sphincter. I also had a very rare complication called a rectovaginal fistula. So I had a hole between the rectum and the vagina, which was why I was pooing out of my vagina. All of this had led to an enormous perineal abscess because, of course, all of my wounds were covered in poo for a week. So this caused an enormous abscess, which had then burst, which is when I collapsed in the corridor. So they said the only thing that we can do is fit you with a stoma so that we can divert the poo away from your wounds and allow it to heal. So what a stoma is it's a bowel diversion surgery. And what they do is they cut into your abdomen a hole about the size of a 50p piece. Then they cut into your bowel, for me the large bowel. They take out a section of the bowel, put it onto your abdomen. That part of your bowel which is on your abdomen is called the stoma, which is actually a Greek word for mouth. And out of the stoma comes your waste, comes your poo, and that goes into a stoma bag. Obviously, as a result of that, I had a lot of mental health problems, post-traumatic stress, hypervigilance, extreme anxiety. And at that time, I was a police officer on the front line in Bradford. And it was ultimately decided after 2 years that I wasn't physically or mentally capable of working on the front line. So I was medically discharged in 2013. And that's like a really gruesome little snapshot of a pretty miserable period of my life. But I'm really happy to say it didn't last.
Should have been the best period of your life as well.
It should, and it's actually really difficult now. I'm 45, coming up 46. My son's a teenager. I had a miscarriage a couple of years after he was born, which was horrifically dealt with by the hospital again. And it is quite difficult to accept that you are never, ever going to have that opportunity to try again, to have that experience that you would like to have. So that I've actually found that quite difficult in the last year or so to sort of come to terms with that again, because you're sort of grieving all the time for something that you thought you were going to have and you didn't have. And now I'm sort of grieving again because I'm now, well, I'm not going to go back and do it all again now, am I? So yeah, but I mean, I've got a lot to be thankful for as well, definitely.
So having the stoma has not held you back in the slightest. In fact, it seems to have spurred you on. If I remember rightly, you've done a half Ironman, parachute jump, a 105-mile rat race, which includes cycling, kayaking, and a trail run over 48 hours. You've gone scuba diving, and you've done a bikini challenge, and you've swum the channel. What on earth spurred you on to do all of these fantastic things?
2 things. Number 1, a health visitor told me I would never be happy. And I thought,
no
right,
way.
So I thought, right, I'm going to show you. She said I could be happier, but I couldn't be happy.
Happier.
So I thought, right. And one thing you can never, no, I know. And one thing you should never say to me, you can't do something. So someone had basically said, you're not going to be happy. And I thought, I'm going to prove you wrong. And of course, really, my everything is to show my son that his birth didn't ruin my life, because it hasn't. It hasn't prevented me from doing anything. And that's like my driving force, really, to be honest, is to get back control and make my life my own. I don't like it being dictated to by anything or anyone.
Fair enough. So tell us about this bikini challenge.
Well, I'm a very spontaneous person. I do lots of things spontaneously without forethought, which is a good job, because I don't think I would do any of the things that I decided to do actually realize what was involved. And I decided during COVID, when we all went a bit crazy, that I wanted something that was going to give me a bit of a positive focus. So I completely spontaneously decided that I was going to wear nothing but a bikini for 3 open water swims or dips a week from October to May. I'd never got my stoma bag out in public ever in my life, and I didn't own a bikini, rightly so. I mean, who owns a bikini these days, especially when
Well,
you've had a baby? So I
yeah.
had to go and borrow. I had to borrow a bikini from some friends, and I did lots of like live streaming on social media to try and raise some awareness of women injured in childbirth and things. And it really took off, I think, quite frankly, because people had nothing better to do with their time than look at social media and this mad old
Yeah.
middle-aged woman sitting in a bath in Northumberland, freezing cold in a bikini, swearing vociferously, chasing away the cat. So yeah, so
Yeah.
that it went really well. I ended up raising £10,000.
And is
Wow.
that what,
Sorry,
£10,000?
10,000.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, for the Birth Trauma Association. So
So
What an achievement.
everything you've done, certainly recently, has been to raise money and to raise awareness,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
absolutely phenomenal. And you've now you've founded a charity called Chameleon Buddies. Would
Yeah,
you like to tell us
yeah.
a bit about that?
Yes, it was another spontaneous decision of mine. So, as a result of this bikini challenge, the BBC had done a really short video of my challenge, and it was seen by an American lady who's got a charity based at the Gynecare and Fistula Hospital in Eldoret in Kenya, which is in the northwest of Kenya. And basically, she and her charity support women who've got fistulas like I did after birth. And some of them were left with stomas. So she said to me, would you mind having a chat with some of them to kind of just show to them, that your life isn't over as a result of having a stoma? And I said, yes, of course I can. Anyway, during the course of this online conversation that I had with the two of these girls, I realized that they didn't have access to stoma bags. So what they use is crisp packets or tin cans or bread wrappers or bits
Oh
of
my
cloth.
goodness.
And we're talking about the ages of 2 to 76. They're like the ages that
Whoa.
we're supporting.
Yeah.
And because we've got so many surplus supplies in this country, I fundraised to send them out, and the girls were able to go back to school, and the women were able to take part in business training workshops, etc. But basically, what happened was organisations were saying to me, "We can't really give you any money, and we can't give you medical supplies if you're not a charity." And I said, "Well, I've never even been a trustee of a charity. I literally don't know the first thing about charities, but let's create a charity." So that's what I did. I founded my charity, Chameleon Buddies, having not even been to Kenya at that point. So this was back in 2022. And the reason behind why it's called Chameleon Buddies is I believe that people are like chameleons. So we can adapt to changes in our circumstances like a chameleon. And we, as a charity, buddy up to help women, to support them to adapt to changes in their life following childbirth, injury, or stoma surgery in the UK, but mainly in Kenya.
Yeah.
So that was quite spontaneous, but it's changed my whole life.
Can I ask something? I mean, you touched earlier
Mhm.
on the trauma that you went through following the birth of your son, the effect on your mental health, and yet you've gone on to do all these huge challenges and found a charity and do these absolutely amazing things. Has doing those things helped you in terms of recovering from what happened to you, certainly mentally?
Yes, definitely. I think number one, nothing that I do ever in my life will be as bad as what I went through then. Like nothing that I try can be as bad as that. And there's actually a term for it, which I discovered a few years into my recovery, and it's called post-traumatic growth. And what happens is some people respond to trauma by like recognizing how strong they are as a person, and you are left a little bit more like fearless, like I've just said, like nothing can be as bad as what you've already been through, and you kind of realize what your own strength is. And so then as a result of that, it can make you feel even more powerful, but obviously that can take you a long time to get to that point, which I mean it did for me. It took a long time, but it's a bit like building a wall or building steps up something. You've got to start small. So but each little brick, each little thing that you achieve, like the first time I went to a cycling class, I had never been to a cycling class in my life, especially not with a stoma, and I didn't even finish that class. But for me, I had gone to a class. So that was like a little brick, right? I've done that, and nobody can take that little brick away from me. It's like when I got my degree in law, I always remember my dad saying, no one can ever take that away from you. So no one can ever take away anything that you achieve. And it's just about building on that all the time. And I think, but you get such a sense of achievement when you are turning something negative into a positive. But it's really, you just get so much joy from seeing other people thrive and knowing that you've been a part of that in some way, because that's what life's all about, isn't it, really? When you've been through something utterly shit, you don't want other people to go through that experience. And if you can help them, recover more quickly or adapt to it better, then why wouldn't you want to try and help people? I just
Yeah.
feel very lucky, to be honest. Yeah, very lucky.
You are a very strong, determined, resilient lady. I think you're probably one of the strongest women I've ever met.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nothing has
Yeah.
phased you, has it? You've just gone for everything.
I do. I don't. I mean, my husband will agree I'm a very strong woman. Not particularly fantastic if you're married to them. But what is it? Behind every strong woman, there's a really, really
Scared
quiet
man.
man. Yeah, exactly. It was his birthday yesterday, and I was like, I can't believe this. This is a day that's not about me. Every day should be about me.
Yes, because it's
So
all about me, darling.
and I know, I was like, can we just get this day over and done with and go back to me?
And then go back to me.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I am strong, and I think it's because, like I say, I'm very I mean, I was quite a difficult child because I've got willpower, and I just don't like being told what I can and can't do, and I felt like my stoma was telling me what I couldn't do, and surgeons had said to me you can't scuba dive, and then obviously I was told you can't be in the police anymore, and it's just a bit of a, you just start to think, actually I've got one life, just one life, and I'm actually really pleased everything that's happened to me has happened to me, because it's such a cliche, but we only have cliches because they're necessary and they're true, and the cliche is that you've got to make the best of the life that you've been given. I mean, and that's it. And I sort of drifted through my 20s, drinking far too much and doing ridiculous things that I shouldn't have been doing, not really appreciating the body that I'd been given and the strength that I had, and taking, advantage of opportunities that came my way, never thinking I was capable of achieving great things. And now I just think I had my wake-up call, my massive wake-up call, that actually you've just got to get out there and bloody well enjoy yourself, make the most
I
of it.
mean, being a police officer takes a certain strength of character anyway. You don't get many shrinking violets in the police force,
No.
do you? And it
No,
does.
you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So,
I didn't apply till I was 27. I didn't think I would ever get in. And it's funny because I'm really good in other people's dramas and situations. I could bowl in and sort out some. Like, actually, it was interesting. I had somebody crashed into me when I was in Brighton a few weeks ago. Everyone was absolutely fine, but he was an old guy and he was absolutely all over the place. And I was with a friend of mine who I've known for a few years, Nicola, who was on my channel boat and who comes to Kenya with me. And she was like, "Wow, Jill, I've never seen you behave like that." She said you just went totally straight faced, uber professional, really calm, and sorted everything out. And I said, yeah, because I have that side as well.
So you've definitely built a group around you. You now have a support group called Chameleon Buddies, and am I right in thinking that you and others are climbing Kilimanjaro?
Yes. So
Yes.
when I was doing all of my horrifically lonely training, which I'm sure we'll come on to, I thought I wanted to give other people the opportunity to step out their comfort zones and achieve something, and for them to make their stoma or their trauma not the thing that's going to define everything that they do in life. So I thought, right, well, what could we do? So I thought, oh, I know, perfect idea. We'll climb Kilimanjaro, which is the highest peak in Africa. So I recruited from around the UK and the only criteria was that you had to be a woman and you had to have experienced childbirth trauma or have a stoma, and they were the only two criteria. Didn't matter about age or anything. So we've got 20 of us who are going, 9 who've got stomas, 4 have got traumatic birth history. Age ranges go from 30 to 60s, and loads of different backgrounds, reasons why people have got stomas, what happened during their childbirth. Everyone's completely different, and that is happening in October, and we are climbing to raise money to build a hospital wing in Kenya. It's going to attach to the hospital that we support, and it'll be dedicated to stomas. What I ultimately want to do is have a 2 stoma wards, so they'll have proper wards for the stoma patients, which they don't have at the minute, and a training area and everything. I aim high.
it must be so gratifying to know that you're making a difference, a direct difference to people's lives, but not only just knowing that you're doing it, but you're going over to Kenya and you're seeing the difference that it makes when you're raising money, getting equipment out to them, all the rest of it. It just must be fabulous to see the difference that it's making in people's lives.
Yeah, because
Well, it
people
is, but
can
again,
raise
I
money,
just feel
can't
so
they?
lucky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was going
People
to
can
say. I
raise
feel so
money,
lucky
but
that
you're not
I
just
get
raising
to
it.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I actually get to see who it's going to and the difference that it makes.
Yeah.
And that's really, I feel really grateful that I get that because, like you say, lots of people donate money and you might see a picture, but I get to meet the people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very lucky, very lucky.
You work for the charity now, don't you? So how did that come
I
about?
do. Yeah. So when I first set up the charity, like I said at the beginning, it was done without any really consideration for what the hell is involved in running a charity. And no intention of me ever working for the charity. But 3 years down the line, it's grown quite big, and it got to the point where we realised it actually needs to be run properly and not me in the toilets at work trying to like reply to emails and all this kind of stuff. So what we did was I stood down from the charity and we had an open recruitment campaign, and eventually after lots of interviews and in discussion with the charity commission, I was offered the job of Chief Executive Officer, CEO. So I do that 16
Excellent.
hours a week, but I also work at Pets at Home. I work there
Pets
2
at
days a
home.
week. So I get, I like to just be spontaneous and do lots of different things. So I work there and I get to see all the little puppies that come in and speak to all the customers, and I love it. So yeah, so I have 2 completely different jobs.
I love that. I
And
love
I've
that
written a book.
you do this majorly important thing that's kind of changing lives. Then, the other half of you is at Pets at Home looking at
Stroking
puppies.
I do.
gerbil.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
I love it. Yeah, I do. I clean up hamster shit half the week. It's great.
But not
Keeps me
content.
grounded.
Not content with being involved with your own charity, you're also an advocate for the Birth Trauma Association. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
Yes.
you're involved with the charity MASIC.
Yeah, so Birth Trauma Association, this is a charity that's been going for more than 20 years, which I had never heard of after I had my birth. Found out about it when I was doing my half Ironman, and they support women and their partners who've been traumatized by childbirth. So obviously that's something that's massively important to me. So I have been supporting them since about 2017. I do loads of advocacy for them, and I did lots of fundraising for them. And then we've also got MASIC. So MASIC stands for the Maternal Anal Sphincter Injury Charity. They contacted me and asked me to be an advocate. When was it? This was a few years ago now. And I did say to my husband, "Oh my gosh, this charity have got in contact with me and asked me to be an advocate." And I said, "But I can't believe the charity has got the words anal and sphincter in it." I said, and that is just typical. I think it really sounded very sexy. But anyway, don't mind about that. They do really, really important work. Obviously, it's all about childbirth
Yeah.
injuries.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do a lot of advocacy for them as well, and I'm also on their advisory council. Yeah, that's something I'm really, really passionate about. And I'm also joining the New Global Maternity Alliance, which Theo Clark, the former MP who was the chair of the Birth Trauma APPG, I was on the special advisory group for, has set up. So I'm involved with that as well.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so
There's
I'm pretty
different stuff
busy.
in you.
Yeah, pretty busy. Yeah,
And
no,
your
and I've written a
latest,
book.
yes, I was just going to say your latest project is you've written a book.
I've written a book, and today I've sent off my first submission, so I'm just waiting for my rejection. I'm stealing
Don't,
myself.
No, don't, no,
don't,
don't.
no. Wait for the
I said to
acceptance.
Mum today. Well, I said to Mum, I said, well, J.K. Rowling got something like 20 rejections. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just sending it off. I'm sending it off with very low expectations. You've just got to wait and see, haven't you? But like my husband said, if you don't send it off, you'll never know.
Well, no, exactly.
There's only one way to find out, isn't there?
Yeah. And what's your book called? Are you happy to say?
Well, yes, at the minute it's called Against the Current. That's what it's called at the minute. But I mean, I've really, really enjoyed writing it. The obviously it covers a bit of my childhood and then goes into the police and then the birth of the stoma and all the hideousness, and then obviously the big swim and things at the end. I did find it quite difficult actually revisiting all the trauma so in depth, because of course it's all about how did that make you feel, like really get your feelings out, and
Yeah.
I had to sort of live that experience again, but for about 3 months. So that was pretty miserable. But I've done that bit now, so I'm on to the good bit, which is great. I've enjoyed it.
Did it throw up some memories that you'd forgotten? I don't mean the bad memories, but just as you're going through everything and you're thinking and you're suddenly thinking, oh gosh, I'd forgotten about that. I'll include that.
Yeah, yeah, and do you know it's one of the stories that makes me laugh is when I was is with my channel swim, and I've got like, so when you do a channel swim, you get an observer and your team and your crew who write down like literally every moment, every word that's spoken, like everything is documented. And of course, I didn't know what was on this until I read it afterwards. And before I'd started swimming the channel, I had read somewhere that you had to tell your crew every time you had a wee, because that was indicating whether you were dehydrated or not, which is like a really important thing. But I hadn't told my crew that this is what I was going to do. So it's like it's like the holy grail of swimming, which is learning to wee while swimming. So I was really, really pleased that I had managed to conquer this weeing while swimming. So and every time I had a wee, I was going wee, and my crew and they were all just smiling at me, and then they were all like looking at each other, and they're like, why is she telling us every time she's had a wee? And they were like, I don't know, but she looks really pleased with herself, so let's just smile at her.
So you just smile and wave.
And it's like the real epitome of the smile and nod. But of course, because they smiled, like a massive smile every time I said it, I was like, oh, they're really pleased that I'm weeing. So I'm going to keep telling them.
Oh God,
It's just one of those really bizarre
I'm going to do that with my husband. I was just going to go wee.
But not in the pool.
No, I was going to say, where are you going to do that?
Yeah.
From the bathroom, I hope.
The thing is, if you were on your way to France, so you could have just been shouting yes. When you got into French waters, it just turned into yes.
So that really made me laugh, like reading through the thing and obviously then chatting to my crew, and they're like, yeah, like we had no idea what you were talking about.
So when you get to France, if the tide's in and if the tide's out, you can stand up quicker, can you? Or I don't understand it. You have to touch a certain part
but
or a marker.
No, because if you think about it, if the tide is out, it's pushing against you, so that's actually harder.
Oh, yeah.
You want the tide coming in, and you can land anywhere on a certain section in France. There's like no way that you would know. And without sounding totally up myself, that the BBC were wanting to film it, and they kept saying to my pilot and everyone, well, what time's she going to land and where's she going to land in France? And they were like, no idea. It's like a huge coastline. We haven't got a clue where she'll land. So, but yeah, you can't go as far as Calais. One girl did, but and one of the rules about channel swimming is you have to clear the water. So you can't have any water. Like you can't be paddling. Basically, you have to totally clear it and have no water either side of you, or rocks. Like some people that end up on the rocks. So yeah, it is a strange experience though, because obviously when you land, French people, just going about their day, walking their dog, and then there's me, bedraggled and exhausted, flopping onto the beach. It must be quite weird for them.
Really, what you wanted was a fanfare on your arrival.
Exactly. Some people said, oh, it's great because I landed in the middle of the night and had the beach to myself in the dark. And I was like, God, no, I'd be terrified. Wouldn't want to land on the beach in the dark. I said, no, sir, I want to have the photos.
Yeah. So obviously part of your swim would have been in pitch black.
Yeah. So I set off at 9:30 at night, which was, well, let's be totally honest, it got me a lot more money. Sponsorship. It was not what I wanted to do because it's terrifying. So yeah, I set off at 9:30 at night and swam for 9 hours throughout the night, but it actually made for an epic video of me leaving in the dark with just two little lights, one on my back and one on my head. One flashes and the other one's like on fully, so that the boat can tell which is your backside and which is your head. I mean, I kind of would hope that they would, I mean, that obviously shows how slowly that you're swimming, that they have to judge by bloody lights flashing which end is which.
Especially when you're shouting we.
Yeah, they were like, where's she going? She doesn't know where she is. She doesn't know what she's doing. So it was bloody boring as well through the night. I mean, and I was lied to, because I was told the good thing about swimming through the night is that you'll get an amazing sunrise. Like everyone said this to me, so I was like, right, I cannot wait to get this sunrise. And no, I didn't get that. It literally just, it went from dark to like light grey. And I was like,
and that was it.
That was
that was literally it. I was like, that was crap.
Right. When like 9:30 at night, I'm looking at my watch
Thinking
thinking it's bedtime.
bedtime.
Um,
Oh yeah.
did you have to somehow adjust your body clock and start
No.
sleeping during the day? Did you not do any of that?
No. No, because you don't know what time you're leaving. I didn't know I was leaving at that time until half past
Right.
6 that morning. Yeah, you don't.
Wow.
You find out 12 hours before. So they
So
check the
all of a
tide
sudden
times
you're
every
doing night
12 hours.
shift.
Yeah, but I
Wow.
tell you what, mind, the adrenaline kind of sees you through. Yeah, the adrenaline just, chucks you
What
in.
was
It's
what was I mean, obviously arriving in France must have been the high point and setting off was probably a high point. But
yeah.
what was the low point for you? What was there any point where you just thought, oh, I
I
can't
can't
do
do this.
this?
No, no. It was the most amazing experience of my life. I think because right, so basically, when you swim the channel, you're given a window of opportunity to swim. So your
Mm.
pilot has got 7 days to get 4 people to France and back. And I was number 4. To cut a long story short, I was blown out of my window by bad weather. So I was
Oh,
told that's it. You might not even get a chance to swim the channel at all after training for 3 years. There was only 4 weeks left of the season. So
wow.
then my pilot basically managed to squeeze me in. So I was so unbelievably happy and grateful that I was swimming. That alone just gave me such a massive amount of positive energy. But also, it's really drummed into you throughout your training, your really lonely, arduous, grueling training when you can't talk
Mm.
to anybody, that your head is the thing that will get you to France or not. So you can't let any negative thoughts in at all. And I knew that. And 10 minutes before you get off the boat, you're given a warning by the pilot. And he says to your crew, right, this is when you have to slather her with soda creme and Vaseline, and that's to stop chafing. And when he gave that warning, I literally just went into some sort of like adrenalized shock.
Mm.
My whole body was shaking, and my crew said they could feel the adrenaline pumping underneath my skin, and my
Wow.
teeth were shaking, like everything was just literally like that. And then as soon as he said, right, get in, it just disappeared, and it was literally like a drug. I was just like, I feel amazing, and I was like, right, let's swim to France. I wasn't scared at all. I just knew I
Wow.
was going to swim to France, and the whole way through, I was just like, yeah, I'm going to get there. And it sounds really strange. Apart from being incredibly relieved when I landed in France, I wasn't surprised. I was like, well, I knew
No.
I was going to swim to France. But that's it. That was only like for that 13, 14 hours. It was amazing. Just an
But that
amazing experience.
positive mental attitude can take you a long way, can't it?
Yeah, yeah. And I knew I knew if I let any negative thoughts in, like you've only got your brain there, and it was too important.
Yeah.
And also, I had a hell of a lot of pressure. The world was following me. So,
And how did you train for it?
so when I decided, again, this was a very spontaneous decision to swim the English Channel without any forethought or consideration or knowledge of the rules. I couldn't actually lift my left arm at that point because I had a really severe rotator cuff injury. So the rotator cuff is your shoulder, and I couldn't even change gear properly with my left arm. So first I had to start off with 8 months of physio, twice a day for half an hour. I hadn't swum more than 2 miles in my whole entire life, and that was in a pool. I hadn't swum out of, I hadn't swum at night. I hadn't swum next to a boat. I hadn't swum on my own in the sea. I hadn't swum for more than a mile in the sea, and then I was off to swim 21 miles. So I had all my physio, and then I had to end up swimming, I don't even know what it was now, 4 or 5 times a week. Up to 25,000 kilometers every single week, plus being at the gym and doing Pilates and eating properly and making sure I was sleeping properly. Joyfully, I couldn't carry heavy shopping again like I couldn't after my stomach surgery. I became very much like a princess. Can't carry heavy things, very careful. Well, one thing I didn't do actually was do ice skating at Christmas, which is not to say I'm like bloody whatever her
Torval
name
and
is from
Dean.
Valero. Yeah,
Yeah.
Torval and Dean. I wasn't like that anyway, but I wouldn't do that at Christmas in case I fell over and hurt myself. So anyway, after I did the channel swim, I was actually then able to go ice skating like with my son at Christmas time. And I fell over and gave myself concussion. And I was like, well, there
Oh,
you go.
Ah,
I haven't really missed out. It's just like, well, there you go. Like, I've waited like 4 years to do this. I was really excited, and I had one of the little penguin things, and I let go of it, and then I fell backwards and gave myself concussion. Yeah, I think it's safer for me to
dear
swim the
me.
channel.
I have to say, I really admire you because I did a
Mm,
challenge last year from Macmillan, and it was a swim the channel challenge. So you had to
Hmm.
do, was it 21 miles, but you could
no,
do it over
yeah.
the space of, I think it was like 2 months or something. I did it in about over the
Yeah.
space of about 3 weeks. And I think the furthest that I swam was 2 miles in one go. With wee
Yeah.
breaks, I didn't get to shout wee and just go in
Yeah.
the pool.
Yeah, because they'd have
'Cause
thrown you out
people tend to get a bit annoyed with you when you just shout wee
in the
in the middle of
pool.
the pool.
Mine, I think they'd be even more alarmed if I was shouting poo, because obviously I can poo while I'm in my bag while I'm swimming. So I think they'd be even more alarmed if I did that.
But I found just doing it over the space of a few weeks was really
Hard.
how on earth you get through it in a day
Do you know
is
what it is? It's motivation. If you
Mm.
don't have a reason to do it, you won't do it. So
No.
I used to find more than half an hour, 45 minutes swimming in the pool before I decided to do this just boring. I was like, oh, there's no way I could do that. But I knew I couldn't afford to get bored, because you can't
Yes.
get bored, because I was like,
Yeah.
this is something I've got to do. So my mind just switched. But now, if I get back in the pool now, I'm like, ugh, God, this is so boring,
Yeah.
because I'm not motivated.
Well,
I don't have the go.
I've got my swimming headphones and I listen to Harry Potter.
See if that's cheating.
My daughter comes with me and I ignore her for the whole time because I'm listening to Harry
Oh, how
Mm.
Potter.
lovely.
I
But
was doing
yeah,
that.
and
I'd
you know what?
Go
As
on.
long as you're enjoying it, it doesn't matter. Well, I'm saying, as long as you're enjoying it, it really doesn't matter. I just think people should exercise whichever way makes them happy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who cares?
I would have drowned without a shadow of a doubt. What's next? You've done your book. Hopefully that'll get a publisher. Have you got anything else on the horizon?
Yeah. We want to build the new hospital wing, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's the next thing. And we've got a filmmaker who's coming to Kili, so we're going to have that release. I mean, like for a 20-minute film festival film, so there'll be that exciting thing to look forward to. Just sort of, I don't know, actually. I think, do you know what I need to do? I need to get bored, and then I'll have a great idea.
Then you'll think
So.
of something. Are you actually going
Yeah.
to go out
And
there and lay some of the bricks so you can be
Yeah,
really
that would be
part
great.
of it?
Well,
Yeah.
I think they might let me lay on, because we don't want
Yeah.
it to fall down.
Obviously. We don't want it falling down.
Yeah, and we definitely don't want to give me the key, because I'll lose it. But yeah. I mean, it makes me laugh, because people always say, you know, what does your husband think about all these things? And I'm like, he just accepts it, like he just goes, yeah, do what you want.
I would imagine
No,
he's
he's
immensely
certainly not going to say
proud.
no. Well, he is, but he's just a quiet guy. He just likes a quiet life. Quiet life has let me do what I want. Let's be honest. Yeah.
I think that's probably a lot of men. Just like a quiet life.
My husband likes a quiet life.
He
Unfortunately,
doesn't get one,
for
does
him,
he?
No.
Neither does mine. Bless.
Right. So we're going to move on now, and we asked you to come up with a cocktail or a mocktail that represents you. Tell us, Jill, what did you come up with?
Well, I've put a lot of thought into this over a long period of time, and I've called it Sunrise Over the English Channel, and it will
Excellent.
have pineapple in, because they're prickly like my legs, and probably my chin, let's face it. Lemonade, because it's bubbly like me.
Like
and
you.
Raspberry, because it has rosy cheeks like I have, especially when you've swum to France.
Yes.
You missed a key ingredient there. It's
Oh,
the
did I?
apple juice for the wee.
I was like, oh, did I? I thought I wrote it down.
Well, Jill, it's been absolutely fab
It's been great talking
listening
to
to your
you.
stories, and you are truly an inspiration, which is what our
Thank
podcast's
you.
all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
You are
Thank
one
you.
of the most inspirational women we've ever met.
Yeah,
It's just
definitely.
Thank you.
fantastic.
Thank you
And
very much.
thank you
Thank
for agreeing to come and talk to us. It's been
My pleasure.
brilliant.
And
So interesting.
we have got everything crossed, fingers and toes, for your book. I am
Yeah.
sure
Okay.
somebody will snap it up.
They have
Thank you.
too.
yes, they
We'll see.
And if they do,
Thank you very much.
we'd like a signed copy.
Well, thank you very much, ladies. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself, so thank you.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot. All the
Thanks a
best
lot,
to
Jill.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you to our guest this week, and thanks for listening.
And we look forward to roaring with you again.